Okay, so we had kind of lost the thread a bit messing around with multiplayer experiments and doing a code review, and I wanted to bring things back to the Queen sprite. The Queen Goblin we had earlier had these weird grid-line artifacts that looked pretty bad in-game. I basically told ChatGPT to make it less pixel-focused, and it generated this more realistic Queen Goblin sprite. I actually really liked how it looked, mostly because the color contrast was much better than our Goblin King. So once I saw that, I asked ChatGPT to make similar sprites for the King and the Warrior, so they'd all match stylistically. At that point, I noticed two problems. First, it had added sand or dirt at the bottom of the sprites, which didn't really make sense for our board. Second, the sprites looked kind of blurry once they were scaled down in-game. While I asked ChatGPT to remove the dirt, I started investigating the blur issue with codecs. It suggested a few programmatic fixes that didn't really help. Then I saw the phrase pre-resize to exact size, which sounded exactly like what we needed. So I told it to use FFmpeg, a Linux command line tool for image editing, to downscale the sprites to the exact size of a board tile before importing them into the game. That helped a lot. However, the sprites were still getting a bit blurry once we applied the programmatic breathing animation. So instead of relying on transforms, I thought it might make more sense to do a proper sprite sheet animation to bring the pieces to life. I first asked ChatGPT to generate a breathing animation sprite sheet, but honestly, I couldn't really tell the difference between the frames. So instead, I decided to do a cape fluttering in the wind animation, which would be much more noticeable. I ran into an issue where some of the swords overlapped with the capes on the x-axis, which made automated sprite splitting tricky. I tried messing around in Pinta to fix it manually, but since I'm pretty bad with that tool, I realized I could just tell ChatGPT to space the frames further apart. That worked, at least for the top row, which was good enough for a simple cape animation. I grabbed the 3x coordinates for the vertical splits and the single y coordinate for the horizontal split and told Codex to extract the 4 sprites from the top row only. It actually worked really well on the first try. I played around with the animation speed a bit. Faster looked kind of weird, and I ended up liking the slower animation best. I then repeated the same process for the Queen and King Goblins. There was some minor jitter from the sprite extraction not being perfectly aligned, so I asked Codex to adjust the offset. It fixed the left-right jitter by using a centroid-based alignment to keep the visual mass centered, which helped a lot. Overall, this sprite and animation polishing didn't take long at all using AI tools, and I think it's a huge improvement, especially in terms of contrast with the board and making the pieces feel more alive. Thanks for watching. Next up, I'm thinking about adding more chess-inspired rules to the game and possibly an ELO system for multiplayer. See you next time.